All right. I just really want to get this message out to everybody. And first and foremost, anybody that's seen the movie The Labyrinth knows exactly what I'm talking about, okay? Now, a lot of us have been undergoing some very intense spiritual warfare. I know because I'm not the only one that's posted about the fact that we're seeing an upsurge in how many prayer requests are going out daily. And no offense, because I know the effect and benefit of having a prayer army of people at your beck and call when you're really getting hit very hard. And I'm not diminishing that in any way whatsoever. But at the same time, I'm feeling called to tell everyone that we need to up our spiritual game so much, because this is child's play compared to what's coming, okay? If you think that things are getting heat up and unbearable now, this is child's play, okay? So what has been revealed to me about where we need to go to kick things up a notch and to fight even harder is it was just kind of like over and over and over in my mind, just again and again. I couldn't shake the quote from the movie The Labyrinth that came out in the 80s, okay? A lot of us have seen it. A lot of people have seen this movie, okay? And I mean, I must have seen it like a million times when I was a little kid. But over all the spiritual battles that I've had with my kids and this custody battle that I've been going through for over a year, and how much it's escalated and gotten way out of control and like pretty crazy. So all of a sudden, it just like kept nagging me and nagging me and nagging me, was one of the most pivotal lines in the whole movie of The Labyrinth. The main character starts off the movie quoting these lines, but she can't get it right. She keeps stumbling and she keeps misquoting it, and she's getting frustrated because she can't remember it right. But at the very end, she finally gets it right. Okay, and for those of you who haven't seen this movie, it's a angsty teenager. Her parents go out for a date, and she's stuck watching her stepbrother, Toby, that's a little baby, and he's probably like 1.5, and he still has to sleep in a crib. And he just cries a lot because he misses his mommy. And she is just so frustrated and doesn't want to hear him crying anymore. So she makes a wish that he would just go away. Well, what she doesn't realize is Jareth, the Goblin King, decides to grant her wish and takes her baby brother away. And the only way for her to get him back is to go to a place that's timeless. And it's a labyrinth maze that she has to navigate her way through. And as she starts kind of twisting and turning through this maze, she realizes it's not fair. And it doesn't play by the rules. And everything's topsy-turvy. It's kind of like an Alice in Wonderland where nothing is as it seems. And what to us would be like common sense and reasonable or justice, it doesn't apply. So she finds herself getting really frustrated and irritated by this, but persevering anyway. No matter how crazy and outlandish and just nuts it got, somehow, some way, she was able to get through. So by the very end, she is confronted with Jareth, the Goblin King. And I want to tell you, he's dressed androgynous. He has 2 different colored eyes. So right there, it almost to me sounds like Jareth is like Japheth, one of Noah's sons. And the fact that he's a Goblin King is really like he's a Demon King. And the fact that he's androgynous is like Baphomet. And he has 2 different colored eyes, which is one eye symbolism. So you take your guess. Who does he represent? In my opinion, he represents Hasatan or Lucifer, the fallen angel. One and the same. Anyway, what she finally tells him at the very end of the movie and comes to defeat him, I have it memorized because I watched this movie a million times. And for some reason, over all the custody battles that I was going through and all the spiritual warfare, I couldn't shake this. It just kept like jumping out at me and just like nagging me. It kept popping into my head over and over. So I was like, there's got to be some significance to this. And I started saying it out loud. And the more that I said it out loud, the more that I wrote it down, I said, wow, like this is so powerful against the devil. And it's not even necessarily in child custody. It's with all of us. Every single temptation that we go through. And this is what she says. I have fought my way beyond the goblin city to take back the child which you have stolen. For my will is as great and my kingdom is greater, and you have no power over me. And she defeats him, gets Toby back, and goes back out of this land of timelessness where everything's topsy-turvy, and she goes back to her home. Her parents come back from their date. They think everything's fine. Toby's asleep, and she's just like relieved. She's like, wow, I'm really home. Now I'm grateful that I have my parents. And this, it's almost like actually like a parallel universe where she got her wish, saw how nightmarish and hellish it was, and then got to go back to the original dimension and realized how grateful she was, and then to like stay in that one. But what really struck out me is the way that she defeats him. The three things that she says and just how important they are. She says, my will is as great. And in scripture, there are only very few select times where Hasatan actually speaks. And we know he tempted Messiah in the wilderness, and there were things that he offered. But there's another time where he speaks. And he says, I will ascend the throne. And he's talking about the throne above Polaris, the North Star, Yahuwah's throne. That's his goal, and that's always been his goal. He wants the throne. He wants to be worshipped. He wants total, absolute control over everything that's ever been created. And that was the entire reason behind the Tower of Babel. That's the reason behind NASA. That's why they're trying to break the firmament by shooting missiles at it and creating cracks and dents in it. Anyway, but what's so significant is the fact that when Yahuwah spoke to Moses on the burning bush, he says, I am that I am. So he chooses the phrase, I am. But Lucifer, Hasatan, chooses, I will. So you can tell the statement. One, which is I am, means I am existing. I am present. I am eternal. Because I am doesn't have a time frame or a reference. It just is. And I will actually does have a time frame. It does have a reference. It's an intention of an act that's going to happen in the future. So those are the differences between them. Yahuwah chooses to be in the present, and the present is eternal because it just continues on. And Lucifer chooses to be in the future, which is never going to catch up with him. Anyway, you say, I will do something. It implies that you have the intention. You're willing to put forth the energy and the effort to make that happen and to manifest it because it means that much to you that you really want it. So by the main character in the Labyrinth movie saying, my will is as great, meaning my will is just as strong as yours. My intention can equally match your intention. So when we say that to Satan, we're saying your will to sit on the Father's throne equally matches my will to see to it that that never happens and that you're never going to be successful. And then when the next part is you say, my kingdom is greater. He is the prince of the earth right now. And when you're saying my kingdom is greater than your kingdom here on earth, you're saying the kingdom of heaven in the Shemayim is greater than the kingdom here on earth. And you're saying, I'm going to invoke the kingdom of heaven to come down on earth. When you recite what's called the Lord's Prayer, which I now rephrase as the Messiah's Prayer, So when you recite the Messiah's prayer, and that's actually written on this blanket right here, on this chair, and when you say that, and you say, "As it is in heaven, here on earth," you're bringing the kingdom of Yahuwah onto earth, and it's always going to win. It's always going to proclaim victory, and it's always going to triumph over the will and the intention and the kingdom of the prince of the earth currently. So you say, my kingdom is greater. That's kind of insulting. And then, just to make it even worse, you're going to say, you have no power over me. And it's done. At that point, it's done. There's nothing that can trump that. That's the winning card. It's it's an atomic bomb on the enemy. You said, man, my willpower to see you fail is stronger, or is equally matched with your willpower to try and succeed at what you're doing. But my kingdom is greater than yours, and you have no power over me. That's it. That is how we use an atomic bomb in spiritual warfare. And if everybody knew this and was utilizing prayer requests at the same time, the next level that we're about to go through would be a piece of cake, a walk in the park. And people need to know this. People need to know this. It's a mindset. It's a mindset that we have to grasp. It's a mindset that we have to know. It's a mindset that we have to walk by. Not just recite it. Not just, oh yeah, I already know that. Do it. Act on it. Live it every single day. You know, if you have to write it down, I write down positive affirmations right here. Write that 3-step down and say, my will is great, my kingdom is greater, and you have no power over me. And say it out loud. Tell Satan, in the midst of all of the heat he's trying to throw at you, every single lie, every single temptation, all of the hopelessness and the desperateness, and no matter how bleak it looks, tell him that. Say, my kingdom's greater, you have no power over me. Cease and desist. I rebuke you. Flee, go away in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. That's an atomic bomb. And, you know, I just see so many people right now where the stakes are so high and the prayer requests are going up. It's almost like people need to know how to not just request more prayers and backup, but people need to know how to take their individual prayers to an atomic level. Because imagine if everybody has an atomic prayer and then we do an atomic prayer request. We win. Easy. No ifs, ands, or buts. It's a done deal. So thank you.